laptop.
No hat. It's just like a.
Oh, I forgot. I didn't even realize the hat. That's all right. I'll make it work.
But it's just twice in a row. No hat, no laptop.
That's
it.
It's a look, shorts, not even wearing pants. Yeah. We're good to go. You already know who we are, right? Oh, what do you? Championship games. Rolling. Ears cracked open. Start with the. Where to even start with that? Oh wait, we have first time go Bills. Miles. Love to see.
Yeah,
love to see it.
I mean, it's cool. I figured you'd be in bed by now.
We got another guy in here. Killing it. Gentlemen, cheers. That was tough.
Start off with Kurt?
Let's start off with Kurt showing they get it out of the way. Okay. Brother requested it.
Bloody sock. Yeah, Bosa with the bloody sock.
Poor Nick Bosa.
Guy was hobbling off.
Got a rough game. On a
sideline.
You know, I think it's. I was looking. Well, pretty much since. Now we see. I don't know.
Pretty sure.
Could be. It looks like he's. Well, they said they're.
Football player named.
And the audio is, I think, recording of the. He said.
That's the.
And the internet here, not the. That was a tough game. Oh, you really thought the 40. Josh Johnson.
They played 4. Where were you? Why did you? You don't think he? You need to
gotta do something.
That many. I'm expecting him to throw 20. Oh, are you? I'm just.
I don't know. That was a tough game. 0-7-7.
The Eagles finally figured out. Oh, they're just gonna.
Oh, they're also watching the game. I don't know what the game.
Yeah, we were
watching it right before half. That Olsen, Greg Olsen. Hey, they're running read option to the side. Greg Warren. Not reacting. They didn't care. And very quickly. Hey, get it?
The only thing I will say is look back.
No, they didn't run it. I think it was yards. Touchdown. I don't know. I just felt that I mean, it was quick. Overs. We can. Like, it was just. I don't really, like I said,
They can't be that bad.
no, I think that.
If they were outside of
Yeah, I mean, I could look. I don't. I guess for this point, it was escape.
we were preaching, get everybody out of that game. Halfway through the third.
Honestly, after halftime,
Get everybody
get
out.
them out.
So many. Managed to get that.
It was really mystery relevant.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hell of a season. You can't really ask.
Let's take.
Look at it.
Oh yeah, it is.
Toast, gooch.
Oh,
there we go.
that
that looks
might
better.
actually be better. Okay.
So the Eagles ended up, they were 8th in total yards. Let's see, against the
Somebody
Rush.
respond if that's any better. I don't know if you guys are still even care to pay attention, but it looks like we're reading better now. But yeah, it's just I don't know. Like, but the defense still.
So the Eagles were actually mid-tier against the Rush this year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of surprising.
They gave up 4.6 yards per carry, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's
7,
wow, 4, 6.
The 9th worst in the NFL.
Wow, that's actually.
But
when you get after the
line,
quarterback like that,
if you go up early,
you can allow to be number 15, 16 in rush defense.
And I'm not sure if
especially when you run the ball as well as they do to begin with.
And I'm not convinced whether it have been, we'll get into it in a second, the Bengals or the Chiefs. They're not going to be running the ball 40 times a game.
No.
I mean, unless they blow them out in the first half, they are not running the ball 40 times a game.
Neither one of those teams is manufactured by the run.
No. So I don't. The Eagles, again, they have the easiest schedule. Played the Giants, played the 49ers. They got it done. Top-ranked pass defense. It's kind of hard to hate on them right now. They don't turn the ball over. They run the ball well.
No, they do pretty good stuff.
Unfortunately, I don't know if there's really a whole lot to add to that game.
No.
I mean, I feel like we should have put more time into it, but
there's not much else to talk about.
Right? Purdy goes down, game over.
Yeah, that was kind of.
Josh Johnson goes down, the game's really over. So
yeah, that was end of the game, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at this point we can get to the good stuff. Not that it wasn't good for the Eagles, but let's get to the good stuff. Where do we begin with the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Cincinnati Bengals? One phenomenal game, super 3-point game. We both like the Bengals.
Yeah,
I know.
Absolutely.
I know. One thing I talked about was I wasn't sure if they could beat Mahomes 3 times in a row or 5 times in a row. I'm sorry.
They proved that they couldn't, I guess. But that's.
I thought Joe Burrow.
The biggest asterisk might be next to that of all time. Honestly, And
I thought Joe Burrow played.
We'll talk about that at the end, but
I think Joe Burrow played absolutely phenomenal. Watching it, I checked. Pro Football Focus gave him the top quarterback grade of the whole weekend. They thought he was the best. Didn't have a whole lot of competition, because Mahomes did just enough to get him. I think he missed a lot of throws.
Yeah, absolutely.
He made them when they counted, obviously, but Valdez-Scantling decided to catch the ball this week.
Which, who would have ever seen that coming?
Yeah, and
actually looked like he would play wide receiver.
Also, too, the player of the game was Chris Jones.
That's not even.
He dominated that. He dominated that game, like absolutely dominated it. But yeah, I mean, do we just jump into it? I mean, I just want to say that some of Burrow's throws, Jamar Chase, that 4th and 6 catch, unreal.
Over the two guys.
The throw to T. Higgins in the corner for the touchdown.
Yep. Another incredible throw.
Before his second interception, that was the tip. He hits Jamar Chase in the head on that. I don't know whose fault that was, but man, you hit your receiver 25 yards, 30 yards on the field in the side of the head.
I don't think it was anything to do with anybody's fault. I just think that defender was
timing
tall.
thing.
That defender was so tall,
timing thing. The defender was all, you got to give him credit. The defender was all over him. I kind of shit on the Chiefs safeties. I thought they played very well.
Yeah.
Because they also, Tyler Boyd gets hurt. All of a sudden, they double-team Chase, double-team Higgins, and we're like, I don't care if Hayden Hurst beats us, if Irwin beats us.
Yeah.
It is not going to be those two. And so, I guess we can get into it, right? I guess there's really no ignoring it. The officiating. So I saw a lot of back and forth and a lot of there were some legit things. There were some questionable things.
Yes.
The 3rd and 9 do-over.
Absolutely wild to me.
I'm trying to think if I can ever remember a time where they're like, okay, hang on, you know what? That didn't count. Let's just do it again.
With, 10 seconds left on the play clock for the next play?
You know, and I feel like the Kansas City was getting their punt team ready.
Everybody was changing teams.
Kansas City wasn't protesting it. Cincinnati wasn't protesting it. And the official out of nowhere is like, nope, we have to replay this down. The Bengals stop them again. Then it's the defensive holding.
Yeah.
There was late.
Which, questionable defensive holding to even begin with.
There was that super soft pass interference.
You mean
against the Bengals?
Roughing the passer, you mean?
No. There was a pass interference on the side, and then the roughing the passer. I will say the last play of the game, or before the field goal, you can't push them there. It sucks. It's the momentum. It's how the league is now. That's just how the rule is. Like, I get it. I know a lot of people are complaining about that, but
by the rule, that's exactly what it should be. It's
yeah.
just it's a tough play.
And it's everything, and I'm sure everything in that guy's competitive drive was to push him, make sure he goes out of bounds.
Yeah.
But in the NFL, you can't do that. You know, you can't. If it's close, they're going to call it. If it's close, they're going to call it. But the punt return, it looked like a pretty bad black in the back. I know if you go online, you'll see a bunch of angles where that Mahomes scramble before he gets pushed out of the back.
There was at least one hold, maybe two.
I know
tackle and center looked like they both.
And I know there's holding on almost every play, but
that.
Those were pretty bad. Where, as a casual fan sitting and watching it, it was a lot.
Generally, a chokehold it gets warrants a flag. I mean, usually,
especially up that high. It's hard to watch that game. I was on the fence. I had no horse in the race. I was like, I think it's going to be a close game. But it's hard not to have like a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth watching it, because I felt like the referees took the game out of the players' hands for a decent amount in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would have loved to see that game go into overtime, because Mahomes was starting to get rolling. He was hobbled, but that touchdown, that second touchdown he threw to Valdez-Scantling.
Thread the needle, absolute bullet.
One leg, hits the guy between, what number is he, 11 on the Chiefs? I don't even remember. Hits him right in between the two ones. It was fantastic.
The only thing you could have asked if maybe it was a half a yard out more.
Yeah.
That was it.
And I think at the end of the day, too, if someone said to you, hey, Josh, Chiefs are scoring 23 points, you're like, oh, the Bengals are going to win.
Yeah.
So you do have to give a little bit, like, it's hard because watching that game, I mean, you have, like, your backup left tackle. Your center's hurt.
I mean, if you want to take the refs out of it, it came down to that offensive line.
It came out of the offensive line, and Chris Jones was a man-possessed.
That was his first 2 sacks ever in the playoffs.
And switching him out to DNs, the first time it didn't work.
After that, it just started wreaking havoc.
You knew you were going to get one-on-one if you put him on the edge. And I think you take that 95% of the time if you're Kansas City, especially against their backup right tackle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, again, super close game. I think is this the new Brady Manning? Is we have Mahomes, Burrow?
Absolutely.
Like because both teams, they're not really horrible in the cap space. Like look like they're ready to go for future years. I don't know what else you want to add because that, like I said, that game was razor close. It came down to a few missed calls, whatever you want to call it, and that was a game. That was the game that we thought we were going to get.
Yeah.
I know your brother thought it was going to be a blowout, but the Chiefs' offensive line real good, and I forgot I wanted to point out too, but Pacheco, that kid can play. And he definitely did not look healthy.
No.
Like, he looked like he'd get hit and he'd lay there and it was like, fuck, all right. It's the championship game. I got to keep going. So, so that's my thoughts on the game. Like I said, I don't really know. It's unfortunate about how much the referees creeped into it.
Because I hate to say anything like that when it comes to the officiating, too. Like... I'll go, for example, I also can't stand the guy as a player, LeBron James, against the Celtics the other night.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was clearly a foul.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
Right.
Pat Beverly with the camera, that was incredible. That was one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But in a game where 240 points are scored, you can't say, oh, well, we should have won because I should have gotten that foul.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different with football. But I hate to harp on something like that, but it was so blatant. It seemed like
unbelievable. I also don't know like what happened. Cincinnati just decided to stop running the ball. Mixon wasn't great. P. Ryan was playing pretty well. He destroyed the Chiefs when he played them last time. So I don't know what happened, but I felt like as soon as it hit the second half, the Chiefs had their drive down, but then it was like, you know what, both teams were like, hey, we're just not going to run the ball anymore.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And for the Bengals who couldn't protect Joe Burrow, like it was blatant, you couldn't protect him. I mean, they were moving guys around to cause trying to get matchups, trying to double team Jones, trying to chip Jones. And
Frank Clark even came up on a couple good plays.
Karlaftis, who I mocked, got a sack.
Yeah.
But again, Bengals didn't throw any screen passes.
No.
I mean, like they're throwing their short design dump offs, but like they didn't do anything to take the aggressiveness away from the Chiefs' defensive line, who was playing. Unfortunately, they were playing against backups. Yeah. All teams have injuries though, because Kansas City was not healthy either. I mean,
they had
Gay went down.
Tony
went down. I think Juju was banged up. So I mean, both teams were very injured. So I don't think injuries at this point is an excuse because everybody plays the same amount of games. I mean, the 49ers, they get a pass because it's their court. It's one position, but
it was 4 quarterbacks in a single season. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. But besides,
absolutely, no. But yeah, so. I don't. So I mean, I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. I mean, my initial thought was, after watching both games, the Eagles are going to blow them out. The betting odds came out. Kansas City was the favorite for about an hour, maybe, and then it flipped. I mean, looking at the two teams, I think the Eagles' offensive line is better. I think their defensive line is better than the Chiefs.
I just don't see the Chiefs being able to contain the trenches, and I mean. They say it, they cliche it, whatever. That's where you win the games in the trenches. Yeah. But when it's against a team like the Eagles, you have to beat one of those. You have to beat one of those sides. If not, you can forget about the entire game.
And I think the big thing is going to be how much Kelsey goes off, because all of a sudden you start looking at matchups and you start looking at things.
They don't have a safety or a linebacker that's going to be able to touch Travis Kelsey.
Right. But what they do have is Darius Slay, and they have James Bradbury, Gardner Johnson, and all of a sudden you look at the Chiefs and you're like, okay, besides Kelsey, if they need a first down, where are they going? Because I start to panic a little bit for them. Not saying it because obviously Mahomes is a great quarterback, a 1, 2, or 3 in this league.
It's just those 3 guys against, we'll say they're healthy at this point. We'll say Juju, Tony, and MVS are going to be their three.
Right, because
you can't tell me those three corners are not going to be able to do whatever they need to do against those three receivers.
Yeah.
You can't.
And also, too, we're going to see what happens with Snead, because Snead got hurt. One of the Eagles, one of the Chiefs' top
what is
corners.
He? Slot corner, I think.
I think he played slot last year. I think they kind of moved him around a lot this year.
It's a big deal when you have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown.
Yeah, because then all of a sudden, because that's the other thing, too, is, the Eagles didn't really have to throw the ball. And you didn't have to see anything, and we'll see what ends up happening, because if the Chiefs are anything not healthy, all of a sudden you start looking at these matchups where it's your third, fourth, and fifth string corners going against A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, even Goddard. You start to look around.
Who's the slot guy that we really like too?
Oh, was it Quez Watkins? Is that what it is?
Quez Watkins.
Quez Watkins.
Yeah.
That guy's super fast.
There's not anybody on that Chiefs defense.
The Chiefs safeties played Thornhill, Cook, and Justin Reed played very well.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
But there's going to be. But the one thing's for certain is the Eagles are going to run the ball. They are at least going to attempt to run the ball. Where the Bengals were kind of Burrow versus Mahomes. That's what everybody wants to see.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was intentional, but yeah, that's what it is. So I don't know. My early thoughts looking through it is, man, I really think that the Eagles have the advantage across the board.
Absolutely.
Except for quarterback. Quarterback, tight end, everywhere else, defensive line as great as Chris Jones is,
mm-hmm.
the Eagles' defensive line was record-breaking. I mean, each guy had, 10-plus sacks on the D-line.
Yeah.
Hassan Reddick was a man-possessed.
He was...
They were trying things to slow him down. I mean, the play where they got the sack fumble was... I was complaining about it. You have your backup third-string tight end trying to block him.
And guess what? Guess who brought up that same point in the middle of the broadcast? Mr. Tony Romo. So,
okay, Tony Romo. Tony Romo's phenomenal. Watching him, I feel like fans can learn a lot from what he has to say for a guy that's been there for that long. I don't know. And then the only other thing is, after this game, Pratt going after going after his teammate. He has since apologized for it.
I can't even really
I mean, I think at this point, it's your rookie. They showed him. He's obviously a little sad about it. Man, you work so hard to get there, and
I know
for that to be the way it goes down.
So I can't be super upset with it, but because he obviously that's not something that's in a malicious way by any chance. It's just,
right, and then also too, it'll be interesting with Mahomes' high ankle sprain. Clearly bothered him.
Absolutely.
He does get the bye week, so he gets the extra week to recover. Again, if he's not fully healthy, that takes a lot away from them, especially the Eagles are a little bit more of an animal than the Bengals on defense. So, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good game if the Chiefs can get somewhat healthy. I still think the Eagles win, but...
yeah, I do too. I mean, I was 0 for 2 this weekend, but I'm still going to say that I'm gonna put my bet out there that it's the Eagles.
I know I like the Eagles, and I know I thought the Bengals were going to win, but like I said, I kept saying that. I was like, I don't know if they can lose to Burrow 5 times in a row, right? That was always in the back of my mind, 4 times in a row, whatever it was. So I don't know if you want to add anything else about the Super Bowl. Because we're going to be talking, I'm sure, a lot about it next week with more stuff coming up.
I wouldn't doubt it.
But
I don't really have any.
Okay, well then you know what? There's a couple other big things that we need to talk about for football that we could burn through real quick.
Okay.
Maybe not quick. NFL raises the salary cap. We've been talking about cap issues all year. Raises everything. That helps a significant amount of teams.
Mm-hmm. One being my team.
One being your team.
What is it up to?
224.8. So that was $12 million. So that's about $5-6 million more than what they thought, which is a high-end starter on a couple teams that are now saved. But the underlying part of this that I saw in the news and you and I looked at it is the quarterback franchise tag, which was reported. Let's see, I'm going to look at it here. 32. Was it $32 million now? Yeah. $32.4 million. what does that mean? You and I both said the same thing at almost the same exact time.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson's getting tagged, right?
And it's honestly upsetting.
And honestly, too, Geno Smith might also be in the same thing where he gets tagged as well now.
I don't know if he would. I mean, maybe that's what he's going to be looking for. I don't know if he's worth the 32. I mean,
well, we looked it up for quarterback contracts, right? So going into the season, if you are a quarterback, right, and the franchise tag now is worth the same as about Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
So you are going to be around the 10th highest paid quarterback.
Yeah.
I know when we did our quarterback rankings, you put Geno Smith 9-10 range-ish.
That was, what was it, week 10, week 11?
Week 10, week 11. So, I mean,
it's not like he would have fallen. It's not like I don't think he has fallen that much more.
Right. But I mean, I think
he's still considerably better than Carson Wentz. I'll take him any single day of the week over Carson Wentz.
I mean, I just think that now all of a sudden, where do you go? Like, Lamar Jackson, we were talking about him going other places. There's no way you let Lamar Jackson walk at $32 million, right?
No.
He's looking at 45, 40. You were offering him high 30s, so now you're actually going to be paying him less to franchise tag him.
And this is another year for him to maybe get injured, and another year for him to just.
Especially after the way the season ended, where he was missed the last 6-7 games of the season, didn't come back for the playoff game.
Yeah.
He's staying.
Oh yeah, well I mean we knew that after they fired
I think
Greg Roman there.
Honestly, too, I feel like now this opens up because I mean really the big free agent quarterbacks are Tom Brady, Geno Smith, and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
So I just think personally this now, if you're the Seahawks, maybe you want to see them do it another year. I don't know. To me, it
makes sense for Geno. I'm not going to say it doesn't. I guess I'm going to give him the money. I mean, just got you to the playoffs on a team that you didn't think would ever get there.
But I mean, realistically, are you giving him a 5-year contract? He's 32.
No.
Giving him 4. Yeah,
no.
Right? You're like, yeah. So all of a sudden, you give him a 3. Maybe you give him the 1. I don't know, but I think that's.
I'll give him 1 for sure over anything else. Now that I'm really thinking about it.
And also, too, running backs are $10 million. So I think all of a sudden now, too, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs.
Especially if the Raiders go get Tom Brady, like I think they're going to.
Which that would be, now that they have money, a little bit more significant. So that was a big part of the news today. So I don't know if you have anything else to add, but I think the cap going up is going to save a lot of players. Like Saquon Barkley might be a Giant next year, where I wasn't sure if he was going to be. Same thing with Josh Jacobs. I thought he was gone. Maybe he's not.
Yeah.
And I think that really, I don't want to say devalues, but
it's just tough because
here's Saquon Barkley. He was reportedly looking for $15-16 million. All of a sudden, he's taking 10.
They can also decline the franchise though too.
They could just not play on it. They could sit the year out and not play on it. That is something that they can do. Running backs, that has not worked.
Yeah, some of these guys like Lamar can't afford to do that. I don't think. I
feel like quarterbacks. I'm trying to think if there's anything like prime examples. Carson Palmer retired instead of playing on it. He missed a year, came out, got traded, whatever. He ended up having a good career. Le'Veon Bell, the other end was like, nope, that's it, not playing. Turned down more money. Went to the Jets and all that turned out. So I feel like a running back's shelf life is a lot shorter than a quarterback.
Absolutely.
But again, to me, all of a sudden now with these numbers coming out, I thought there was a different formula to this, but man, there's. I think it saves a lot. It
makes it real interesting.
I think it saves a lot of people because like Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, the two off the top of my head, Lamar Jackson we talked about, and then like I said, the other one under the radar, I think Geno Smith. At this day and age, $32 million for your starting quarterback. You're paying him right around number 10. For Geno Smith, I think it's worth it because otherwise you're going to give him a 3-year.
I think I was forgetting that he's 32 years old and everything
right,
like that.
But but also he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear, so I don't think that's a big of a deal.
Yeah, but it's still also the fact that he also hasn't played a ton of high level football in his career.
Right. Really, this is 1 year as a starter that he played well. At the end of the day, that's what you're looking at. But But yeah, I put on our little chat here, and I'm just gonna bring it up real quick. So we'll move on from the cap. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that was worth noting.
Oh, absolutely.
The Chargers hired Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator.
Can Brandon Staley get fired yesterday?
Well, you and I have talked about this where we didn't think Brandon Staley was the guy. We've also talked about how much we don't like Mike McCarthy as
or
coach.
Anything that offense in Dallas has done really this year, outside of Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb.
I mean, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb played phenomenal. But I think this marks the end for... I think these two moves that have happened...
It's put up or shut up
Dallas,
right now for Brandon Staley and for Mike McCarthy.
Put up or shut up. Right, because I think that's... In both scenarios, Mike McCarthy has gone all in. He's already announced he's calling the plays.
Mm-hmm.
This is his last year in Dallas. If they don't make it to a conference championship, if they don't make it to the Super Bowl, because I mean, we saw what happened. They made the playoffs. Yeah, you win the first game.
Then you played a real team.
And you're like, oh, you put up 12 points. Yes, go ahead.
Mike McCarthy was a Green Bay Packers head coach for, 10, 12 years, I would say.
Yep.
He called, I'm pretty sure every single year he was in Green Bay. Let me tell you guys, it's the same plays every single game. There's no variation. There's no trickery. There's no nothing. And when there's trickery, Zeke's the center. There you go.
And, again, Tony Pollard gets hurt. Dallas is a team that really got helped by the cap increase. They really did.
Yeah.
But again,
absolutely.
Again, Zeke's gonna have to restructure if he wants to stay. Now all of a sudden, too, Tony Pollard. What do you do with him?
It looks like he's getting tagged.
Looks like he's gonna get tagged now because I mean, again, I know I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Talk about it now. You cut Zeke and you franchise Pollard and you save money. You keep your better running back. You save money. Looks like it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to guess,
yeah,
I'm sure. I think Zeke's going to restructure. I think he has to because if he gets
there's nobody else that's going to pay him probably anything near what the Cowboys are going to pay him, even with a restructure.
And if he gets cut, where the hell does he go? Where he's even he's going to be a backup somewhere.
There's a lot of good running backs in the league,
and backups don't get paid a whole lot for football, especially or backups for running backs anyway. Yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, again, I wanted to bring it up because this is, if you're a Cowboys fan, this is it. Like this is Mike McCarthy's.
Is this possibly it for Dak?
I mean, I'll tell you what. I watched him play. If you look at his numbers, and this was 1990, you're like, oh yeah, that was not bad. But like when you watch there's no way you can watch the San Francisco when they played the 49ers. And granted, the 49ers #1 defense in the league, but he's missing throws. Anything outside of a designed swing pass or a designed screen, that couldn't hit anybody.
He doesn't make very good decisions either.
And all of a sudden,
especially this year.
And all of a sudden, he's Mr. Turnover. I don't know. I think this is the year where the Cowboys have a very young, a very exciting defense.
Oh, absolutely.
If Dak is not the guy this year, and McCarthy is not the guy this year,
you get a coach, you get a quarterback, and you tell them.
Right. I mean, that's kind of where it's looking at because they're going to have to make a lot of cuts. They're going to have to do a lot of restructuring to make any sort of different changes on that team. But again, when Tony Pollard wasn't in that game, you saw the Dallas offense, and you're like, "Oh no! Like what happened?"
Yeah, it looked real bad.
And I think the same thing to the Chargers. I mean, I think there is not a coach and there is not an offensive coordinator that would not kill for Justin Herbert as their starting quarterback.
Not to mention one of the best route runners in the league, and Keenan Allen. Mike Evans is an absolute burner.
Mike Williams,
catches the ball, makes it great hands, absolute burner. And then you got Austin Eckler in the backfield, mind you.
He's pretty good. Still pretty good. This was the year where he was this 27 year where you're like, he's a little old or whatever.
Yeah, he did fine.
but man, this screams as if you're Staley, you're going all in. You're picking the Wonder Boy at offensive coordinator, and I think this is actually a great idea for Kellen Moore too, because if they struggle out of the gate, Staley's going. Moore probably gets picked. They probably put him in interim. This might be his chance to shine.
Oh, well, it's for Kellen Moore. But you couldn't pick a better spot.
I just think like this. We saw it again. You and I both said it almost immediately. We're like, wow, this could be it for these two dudes. We're two playoff teams. You look at their course of work where they have these loaded teams, and
not a whole lot going.
And there's not a whole lot going. I mean, again, we saw it. Like, I hate to beat the horse to death, but Tony Pollard goes out. Your only plays are swing passes to CeeDee Lamb. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, McCarthy, Moore? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that could be a whirlwind of trouble for both. And then also the other coaching change. I think it was either late yesterday or early this morning. Vic Fangio goes to the Dolphins. Was that yesterday? Late yesterday? He ends up going to the Dolphins. There's reports of teams trying to make him the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league. Carolina being one of those teams where now all of a sudden Frank Reich and the Panthers
and the hodgepodge
staff are not thrilled about what happened because they weren't involved.
Yeah.
What a disaster. What a disaster. Again, I've never heard of this before where, I mean, it happens, but typically when you bring a new coach in, you let them kind of pick what they want because they live by that, they die by that, and now I think teams are railing that in a little bit. They're kind of like, hey, we're not going to give you full control of the team. And that's, again, I think that's all of a sudden the scapegoating, I think, is going to slow down a little bit. But that's just my opinion. Like I said, I seems like, when the hell has this happened? Where it's like, right? We're bringing in these big name guys. But also, too, you brought him up earlier, is looking at schools in Miami for his kids, and
which apparently didn't happen.
Which apparently, yes, which they did say maybe that wasn't Miami school. We're not sure where it was, somewhere in Florida, but just throwing it out there, something to watch, because Tua still in concussion protocol. They backed him yesterday because all the reports came out, and they're like, nope, Tua's our guy. We're not going after Tom Brady. Something to watch. I'm sure this is going to be a story from now until, I don't know, probably the draft, probably after the draft. I know free agency is sometime in March for football, so.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pans out for him.
Yeah, and again, it seems like this is a weekly thing. We'll move on to your boy, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, hell, this guy gets talked about every fucking day, it seems like, at this point.
Watching the game yesterday, the bottom of the ticker. What's it say? Sources around the league are convinced Aaron Rodgers is getting traded. Yep. And it certainly...
I don't have any words, honestly.
And it certainly... Everybody and their brother, everybody and their sister, everybody and any person that's willing to listen to them thinks the Jets are it. Packet goes there. All of a sudden, 4 or 5 days later, I don't even know if it was that long, all these sources come out.
No, it wasn't even. Oh, no, it's probably been about 4 or 5 days.
And all of a sudden, all these sources are like, yeah, Rodgers is getting traded. Boy, I don't know. I still, to this day, don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to leave. I think he wants to stay with Green Bay. I think he wants a little bit more say in the team than what they're giving him. Whether or not that's right or wrong doesn't really matter at this point. But I don't know what Green Bay is thinking.
They've been trying to get him out the door for 3 years now.
And he talked about it in the Pat McAfee show, who just came back to SummerSlam or to Royal Rumble yesterday.
Which was incredible.
Or 2 days ago. Absolutely phenomenal. Aaron Rodgers said something. I think we brought it up on Thursday. I guess it's worth noting again. If he did not win the 2 MVPs, because he called them the COVID MVPs, which I thought was interesting. Because I
think he was more or less saying that because of the immunized state.
Right, I don't know. Right, and I don't know who he was taking shots at. I think he was just shooting everywhere. He's like, whoever I hit.
Yep.
or not taking the shot, I guess, in this case. But I think it's interesting that the sources are coming up, going on the talk shows, and he's kind of like, I don't know if I'm playing or not. It certainly seems like he's willing to play in Green Bay.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think there's anything that he's saying. He's saying that he could be a Super Bowl quarterback. He thinks he could be an MVP quarterback. I mean, that kind of got blown out of proportion, but it's Aaron Rodgers. That's what it does.
Yeah, because he also did in that same breath say, like you just said, a Super Bowl quarterback.
Right.
But nobody wanted to listen to that.
No, but because that wasn't. I mean, even Gronk came after him, and it's like, all right, whatever. Relax. And you talked about it last time. Like, why would you go through this year with rookie weapons? You probably knew you weren't going to compete this year.
It literally makes no sense.
Why do you play that year and then you're like, yep, you know what, I'm done. I just don't believe it. Believe it.
Absolutely
not. I don't know, but this is the first time that I ever remember sources per NFL sources, and it wasn't just one, it wasn't two, it wasn't three. If you go on Twitter, type in Aaron Rodgers trade, a lot of beat writers, a lot of inside information guys. It wasn't just one or two, it was 5 to 10.
Yeah.
I don't know now. If you had asked me Thursday when he's like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to play or not, I would have bet whatever you wanted to bet the odds that he's coming back. All of a sudden, I'm not sure. And they have to make a decision by March 1st.
Uh-huh.
By March 1st is basically the Super Bowl. You get a couple weeks. His bonuses, his trade kickers, all that comes in effect.
Oh, I'm sure middle of February, whatever, he'll have a decision made. He will,
like right after the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So it's right after the Super Bowl, roughly.
He'll have some sort of decision made. They'll have, at that point, I don't see it taking too long to figure out what kind of cap gymnastics they want to play with him for money and everything like that. It's just literally going to come down to the fact of who's going to have the bigger ego. Are they going to let Rodgers have the bigger ego, or are they going to let Brian Gutekunst, or I honestly couldn't tell you how to say his name, to be fair.
Right.
And Pat McAfee makes fun of him, calls him Gutekunst, so that's what I'm going to say. Who they want to have the most say in this team.
I was talking to your brother yesterday during the game, and it wasn't anything Packers related, but I think it's relevant in this situation. We were talking about coaches getting hired, and we were kind of like going around, and I was explaining to him, and I could be wrong. I'm not an expert by anything, but when you have a team, because you're talking about like drafting quarterbacks and stuff like that. Because DeMeco Ryans during the broadcast, they're like, he's the favorite for the Houston job. He's probably getting the Houston job. Same thing they were talking about. And it's like if you're a coordinator going to a head coaching position and you're a general manager, as I said, I promise this will come back around. He's going to take his quarterback, and you're going to get 3 years to show that your quarterback that you picked is the guy. What happens if, just throwing it out here, Green Bay trades Rodgers and Love does not play well this year? Is the fire on? Like, is the hot seat on fire? Because
absolutely,
you basically don't have a whole lot of time to determine if you're picking up Jordan Love's options. You also don't have a whole lot of time if are you keeping Jordan? Because I mean, I think now that how horrible the Colts played this year, Jordan Love's trade value, I don't know
it's
where
right
it
now.
is.
If he doesn't play good, it's right now.
Is it a second? Like, is it a third?
I think it could be a second.
Like, maybe let's just say hypothetically it's a second, but you're going to get a second from a team that the Saints, a late second, teams that don't have a first round pick that are going to have, maybe it's a late. I don't know if they'll go up an early one, but if you're a Gutekunst and you're LaFleur and you trade Rodgers, let's just say you pull the trigger and you get your 3 first-round picks, whatever it may be, and Jordan Love stinks up the joint. Are they gone?
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be. I don't know if they're going to be gone immediately.
But like, how many years? That's what I'm saying. Is like I
could see LaFleur being gone.
Yeah.
The only reason why I will say that Gutekunst could still have a job outside of contracts and quarterback situation, he's done pretty well.
Well,
He's drafted very good defensively.
Right. Well,
Like-
I'm just throwing it out there though. Like,
I can't stand the guy personally.
They they basically clean house, and you bring in a new head coach, and you bring in a new general manager. You have NFC Championship campaigns back to back. All of a sudden, you're out of the playoffs. You're battling your head coach. You're battling your star quarterback. You ship him off for your prized possession. This was your draft pick. This was your draft. You went up. You're like, fuck you, Colts. We're taking Jordan Love. Get fucked. I don't care if he sits on the bench. You can't have him. He's ours. He's got 1 year, right? Like, this is year 4.
Yeah, it's make or break.
Make or break.
If they do decide to go this route, it's this year or
I
it's
just
nothing.
feel like because if you do this and you force him out and you're like, goodbye, see you later, and it doesn't work out, boy, I don't.
You boys are going to be awful toasty during the winter.
How do you, as a franchise, be like, okay, you know what? Here's what happened. You threw away our championship opportunity for Jordan Love. I don't know. To me, it's just sticking all of your eggs in one basket. If you're like a rookie coach, you're a DeMeco Ryans, you take Bryce Young, you're getting 3 full years to see how he does. Same thing with, whoever takes Levis and whoever takes CJ Stroud.
Yep.
You're going to have time to see what they are.
Look,
The window's gone now. Like you're rode on Aaron Rodgers' coattails, one of the all-time great quarterbacks. And if I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there because
I'm not willing to take that chance.
LaFleur, is this the hill you want to die on? On the NFC Championship game, you're leaking to sources that, hey, we're done with Rodgers, fuck him, goodbye. Let's take our picks because realistically, you're going to get 2 first for him, bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll get more from that because Stafford got 2, Carson Palmer got 2, Sam Bradford back in the day got, I think, 3. So
well, I think he got 3 like twice.
Or, yeah, whatever it was. So there's no way Aaron Rodgers gets less than that. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth noting. I don't know, as a franchise, boy, you better be 1,000% sure that Jordan Love's the guy. Because if you trade him, I think if you trade him, you get 1 year, and that next year, if you start off 2-5, 3-6, you're gone because it's like, you know what, this is what you did. You did this to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a change, and I don't know. That's just me personally. I think because Sean Payton, he talked about it not too recently when he came up and he joined the NFC South, and he was like, yeah, I was friends with all these coaches, but he's like, you look around, if you don't compete for 3 years, you're gone. If you don't compete for 2.5 years, you're gone. And I think there's even a shorter shelf life on Green Bay Packers because you trade if you trade Rodgers, because you could stick out Rodgers the next 2, 3, 4 years. If whatever, let's say he plays 2 more years.
I could realistically see 2.
Safe. If he plays 2 more, but I think the coach is safe and the general manager is safe for 2 years.
Yeah.
Jordan Love, you're betting your whole job. You're betting everything, you know.
I still will not ever understand that pick because my theory behind the whole thing is that Gunther Kuntz wanted to have his Ted Thompson moment.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Ted Thompson's big moment was, you know what? It's 2005. Our quarterback played all right, not that great. We're going to go out there and we're going to say we're going to get a quarterback. But mind you, it was Aaron Rodgers and Alex Smith.
Yeah.
One of them was going number 1.
To the 49ers, yep.
And so they didn't even have to move. When Aaron Rodgers falls to number 24 and still nobody has taken him.
Yeah.
It seemed like a layup at that point.
Well,
Favre had thrown. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry.
I'm old as dirt, so I remember that draft, and they were sitting there, and it was like, who's going to come up and take Rodgers? Because there was all the teams at that point, they were deep playoff teams. They weren't going to draft a quarterback, so it was, who the hell is going to come up and get this kid? It's pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
But again.
But guess who was not the only two people? The only 2 people saying that about Jordan Love were Irsay. I guess the Packers and Irsay.
That was it. That was from everything that we have gathered since the 3 years ago when it happened. Was the Colts want him? If you want to take him, you got to take him. Go ahead of the Colts. It was pretty much the general consensus if you wanted Jordan Love and
we just went to an NFC Championship game
last year. NFC, yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
And think about how well they played down the stretch. I mean, maybe another thing too is, and maybe
Aaron Rodgers wasn't doing what Brett Favre was doing in that year.
he wasn't throwing interceptions.
Aaron Rodgers was still playing real good football.
He's still playing really good football. I mean, he's at least above average. At worst case scenario, he's above average football player. And I mean, I don't know how you look around
The
the
guy
league
won
now.
2 MVPs after you drafted this guy.
I mean, how do you? I just don't know how you look around the league right now with the uncertainty at quarterbacks and the uncertainty with a lot of things. And you're like, yeah, you know what? Let's just ship him out.
You're almost. It's almost a lock at this point that guy's going to give you a top 10 quarterback performance, and you're just going to risk it all on some kid that shouldn't have been taken in the first round. And you've seen play in a couple of games, and it's kind of just.
And you know what too is at what point, and I don't know if this makes a difference. So if every single week we're talking about Aaron Rodgers.
Everybody's talking about it.
Everybody's talking about. I mean, you can't even watch the NFC and AFC championship games.
Well, somebody talking about
They're
Aaron
not
Rodgers.
even in the playoffs. They haven't played in a month, and it's what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know whose fault that is. I don't know if it's Aaron Rodgers' fault. I don't know if it's the front office's fault. I don't think we'll ever know. I'm sure, just like anything else, it's somewhere in the middle where there's some issues. Maybe it's Aaron Rodgers going on the Pat McAfee show and ruffling feathers. Maybe it's him going on Joe Rogan.
Who knows?
It's just, at this point, I don't know, but it's... something's got to give, but it's like, how are we at the NFC Championship game with the Eagles, 49ers, and they're like, yeah, we got breaking news. I think Rodgers is going to get traded. They don't want him there anymore. Who's the distraction at this point? Is it Rodgers? Is it the general manager?
Well, I'll tell you what.
I will have to say, though, if you're a Green Bay fan, you don't know what it's like. Like, unless you're the Colts, or I'm trying to think of somebody else where you went from Hall of Fame quarterback to Hall of Fame quarterback. These teams, these franchises don't know what it's like to be like, oh, man, who's the guy? Like, who's the... Carolina went from Delhomme to scrub to Cam Newton. And then after Cam Newton's gone, we have Teddy Bridgewater, Kyle Allen, Heineke, Sam Darnold. Pick whoever you want to pick. Baker Mayfield, drafting Matt Corral. Like, you're just starting to throw darts everywhere, and you hope you hit somewhere. And I think, man, getting rid of your quarterback, like,
it just doesn't seem. It just doesn't seem like it makes any sense.
I don't want to say they struck gold, but at the time, Brett Favre was not coming to training camps, and it was, maybe I'm done, maybe I'm not done. Like,
Rodgers hasn't had any of that yet.
I mean, realistically, the worst thing that we've gotten from Aaron Rodgers was he's not sure. He thinks he's okay at the draft. Like, he's not missing training camp, saying, I don't know if I'm going to play this year. Like, he ended up missing the training camp because everyone knew he was pissed. Yeah. But he didn't say he was retired. Like, Brett Favre was like, yeah, I'm retired. Maybe
he retired
I'm not
3 times before they got Rodgers.
Yeah, so I think it's a very different situation. And like you said, too, Rodgers, Alex Smith were 1 or 2. As Jordan Love was not 1 or 2, it was that kid's probably a second rounder if you want a project. I don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna find out. But again, hopefully we know sooner rather than later because we don't have.
There's not a whole lot of time left.
We're less than a month away for them to make that decision because if they don't trade him, they don't cut him or whatever, he costs them a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like I said, I think regardless, he restructures. He even said that he's open to restructuring and
because I looked it up. We looked it up. This year, that's a lot of money. The following 2 years, you can move some money around and not have it be a massive cap hit or anything like that. I don't know. Do we have anything else we want to cover? Do we want to talk about Luka Doncic being fucking insane?
I was gonna probably go back to football.
Oh, absolutely. Keep going. Let's go. This is all unscripted, so it's kind of,
I was just gonna say, let's go over some awards. Who do we think's gonna win what?
Oh, awards for the season.
NFL honors.
NFL honors. Wow. I think Mahomes MVP.
So right now,
what do we got?
It is, because I was actually doing a little research at some point here. Me. That's
Absolutely.
fine. It's fine. MVP, you got the finalists are Mahomes, Hurt, Burrow, Allen, Jefferson. I think it's Mahomes.
I think it's Mahomes. If Hurts doesn't get hurt,
then it's Hurts.
I think he swings in there. I think Burrow's third. Jefferson, unfortunately, is fourth. It's hard because it's quarterback award.
Yeah. Allen probably 5.
Allen 5. Yeah.
I'm giving it to Mahomes.
Yeah. What else do we got? What else?
We got offensive player of the year, which
so
it's the same. It's 3 of the same 5 that were up there. It is Mahomes, Hurts, Justin Jefferson. Which at this point,
is there anybody else in there, or is that just the? I could see it going to Jefferson.
Offensive player of the year, absolutely.
Yeah. I could see that going to Jefferson. I also
these are all finalists, by the way.
Those are so. Who are the 5 finalists for offensive player of the year?
There's only 3.
Oh, there's only 3.
MVP is the only thing that gets 5.
I like Jefferson.
Yeah.
I want to throw something out there that I think the Tyreek Hill should have gotten some consideration for what he did going from Patrick Mahomes to Tua to Teddy Bridgewater to Skylar Thompson.
Yeah.
And
or
he kind of finished
for that point.
And he kind of was number 2 across the board for receiving behind Jefferson. But yeah, I would throw that out there.
That.
But I think it's Jefferson.
I think it's Jefferson too.
You know.
Yeah, I don't see it being anything other than Mahomes and Jefferson for those 2 categories.
Yep.
So you go to defensive player of the year. You go to Nick Bosa.
Yep.
Chris Jones.
Yep.
Micah Parsons.
So this is hard for me because I just saw what Chris Jones did, but Chris Jones actually had a better season than Aaron Donald this year.
Yeah, which is insane. Mind you, Aaron Donald might be 1-2 best defensive player of all time.
I think Parsons. I like Parsons more than Bosa by the narrowest of narrowest margins. I'm kind of surprised Myles Garrett wasn't in there.
Yeah.
A little bit. At the end of the day, I still think it's Chris Jones.
Yeah,
personally,
I think so too.
I think it's Chris Jones.
The kid was phenomenal. Honestly.
What's that? Rookie of the years? That's on there too.
Yeah. We got. Well, I got comeback player of the year next.
Comeback player of the year. I mean,
Barkley, CMC, Geno Smith. I think it's got to be Barkley.
Wow. I'm gonna say Geno Smith, but I don't know.
I think it's got to be Barkley.
I think you can make a case for any of them.
Oh, absolutely.
McCaffrey had horrible injuries, but they weren't bad. Like Saquon Barkley had bad, and they kind of wrote him off for dead. Same thing with Geno.
Yeah.
I mean, if you told me who was more shocking, if you told me Geno Smith's going to be a top 10 to 15 quarterback this year, I'd be like,
that's fair.
I'd be like, what are you smoking?
Yeah.
I personally would take Geno Smith, but I think it's neck and neck with Barkley. I'm not mad either way.
Yeah, that's fair. I can absolutely understand that.
Yep.
So the next is Coach of the Year. Daboll, Doug Peterson, Kyle Shanahan. I'm personally going with Brian Daboll.
Shanahan, and who's the other one?
Doug Peterson.
Okay, any of the 3 you can make an argument for. I'm not disqualifying any of them. I'm going to say Shanahan.
Which I can't be mad at.
I can't be. Nobody. I don't think anybody thought if someone said to you, "Hey, Brock Purdy's the quarterback of the 49ers this year because they're hurt," you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah.
Who?
Well, they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah,
I hope they cut their picks."
Yeah, that's fair.
But if you told me the Giants were making the playoffs, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
Danny Dimes, like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley.
Oh man! But also too, if someone said you hate the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is going to be the borderline MVP this year.
But Doug Peterson was.
Jacksonville, yeah. I think Jaguars, as well as they played, I think it's 1 or 2. I'm kind of surprised that Sirianni's not on there for the Eagles, but
yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah. I'm gonna go Shanahan, but I think it's super close.
Okay. Well, do you want to run through the list
let's
real quick?
Just run through it. Yeah. If we go a little over, that's fine.
Offensive Rookie of the Year is Purdy, Kenneth Walker, or Garrett Wilson. Which I'm giving it to Kenneth Walker.
All right. I think I'm giving it to Garrett Wilson just because he played more games, he started more games.
Okay.
He was a top 10 receiver. I don't think that
actually, you might have just swayed me just because now I'm thinking that quarterback situation in New York.
Yeah.
Again,
if it goes to Walker.
Yeah. Purdy didn't play enough
Purdy
games.
didn't play enough
I'm
games.
sorry.
I can't. And Walker missed a couple games too. He didn't start the season.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like Garrett Wilson was kind of the guy. Does that mean we have to give it a couple Jets? Because Sauce Gardner is the defensive rookie of the year.
It's not close.
I don't think that's close. I mean,
It's not close.
who else? Is Hutchinson from Detroit?
And Woolen from
Seattle, who played phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely.
But Sauce
was the best cover corner in football.
Regardless of how many years they've been in, like he played better than Jalen Ramsey. He played better than everybody. So
yeah.
I think I would go with Gardner on that one.
So we're giving 2 Jets.
Wow, 2 Jets.
I mean, we did say at draft time that they absolutely killed this.
We said it before the draft. We said it during the we said it during the draft, after the draft,
and then after the draft, after the draft,
Yeah.
after the draft, after the draft.
I mean,
again.
but then again, what does that tell you too? Jets, Seahawks, they had a defensive player of the year candidate
And an offensive player of the year.
Had their starting left tackle, their starting right tackle were rookies. Top 5 pick.
Watch out.
Especially like who knows? Is there any other awards or is that
Offensive coach of the year or assistant coach of the year?
Assistant coach of the year?
There is Ben Johnson.
Okay.
D'Amico Ryans.
Yep.
And Shane Steichen.
Wow. That's again. I think off the top of my head, if you were like, "Hey, Adam, the 49ers are going to have a great defense," I'd be like, yeah,
probably.
I look at it and I'm like, yeah. If you're telling me the Detroit Lions have a top 5 offense in football, I'd be like, wow, what are you smoking?
Yeah.
What drugs are you on?
What did the hot dog give you?
What did the hot dog give you? At the same time, though, like, Eagles offense. But they were loaded, too. Like, you have the best offensive line. I think I'm going
giving it to Ben Johnson, too.
I'm with you on that one. I guess I'm just thinking if you're I'm just going back to the beginning of the season.
There's no shot you're telling me Jared Goff resurrected his career. Some guy named Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be a top 5, top 10 receiver in football. Jamal Williams was going to break Barry Sanders' franchise touchdown record.
I mean,
get out of here.
You're like, hey, Jamal Williams, hey, we're going to trade T.J. Hawkinson and be a better offensive team.
Yeah. No shot.
I'm like, no, you're not. And then they had a thing where Brown was hurt, and they had like a lot of injuries, and Jared Goff, and they just kept rolling, and they kept rolling. And St. Brown finished the season phenomenal last year. This year, like, came flying out of the gates, had a phenomenal year, probably top 5. He's going to make my life hard because I have a fantasy league where I got Devontae Adams and St. Brown as my. I got a keeper league. I got to keep one of them. That's a lot for me.
It's going to depend on quarterback.
It's definitely going to depend on the quarterback. Yeah, that's for sure.
The Raiders quarterback is going to be a big factor in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I don't know. Is there any other ones? But I think I'm Ben Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely, I am too.
Yeah.
No, that would wrap.
We
up
went a
the
little
NFL
overtime. Not too bad though.
No.
Not too bad. Overtime, like the game should have been Kansas City, Cincinnati. Was that too soon?
Oof.
Was that too soon?
Oof. Load size.
Oof. Eric, that was for Eric right there. Oof. I think it was. Wait, is that load size the Stanford tree?
Oh God! No. I'm
sorry,
done.
Eric,
I'm done.
we're out.
I'm done.
Eric, we're out. All right, we'll end it. We'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have some good stories for next week because
No football.
No football. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of basketball. We're gonna get a lot of basketball next week, I think. So
I'm alright with that.
Till next time.
Bid you adieu.
Bid you adieu. Goodbye. Goodbye.